Right. The reason, the most disturbing aspect of what the Democrats have done here is that they basically embraced all of the fundamental premises of the Bush lawlessness and radicalism of the last 7 years. I mean, there was a scandal that arose because Bush got caught breaking the law by engaging in warrantless surveillance, and the Democrats' response to that was to legalize what he did and then cut off all avenues for investigation. And there was this underlying premise, still further underlying, that because of the unique threats posed by Islamic radicals, that all of the protections and safeguards and constitutional liberties that we as Americans enjoy need to be dismantled and diminished and in large cases abolished. And so the Democrats embraced that premise by taking what you say correctly was already an exceptionally pro-executive, pro-government instrument in the FISA court and basically destroying the entire framework in the name of keeping safe from terrorism and now allowing the kind of vast warrantless eavesdropping that the Fourth Amendment was designed to prohibit. And so, really what it did was it embraced this idea that Bush had the right to break the law because the Democrats are saying we're not going to impose any consequences. We're going to protect you from consequences. We're going to legalize what you did. And it's further saying that Islamic terrorism is so vast and such a scary and unprecedented threat that the only way that we can keep ourselves safe is if we give up our core constitutional liberties, and those premises have traveled very quickly from being secret Bush administration policies to the bipartisan consensus of our political class. That's really more than anything what this bill represents.
All right, now please let me keep you just 1 or 2 more minutes, Glenn.
Sure.
I want to ask you about, it was really a major theme of your speech at the Future Freedom Foundation conference a few weeks back, and it's something that you've just been kicking ass in practice on your blog here, and that is the political realignment. That is, as the conservative Democrats and the liberal Republicans, the extremists in the so-called moderate center come together to destroy our Bill of Rights, the libertarian center on the other side, between the best of the left and the best of the right and the real libertarians are coming together in order to stop this thing, and you're at the forefront of this. So if you can just address maybe in the ideological sense the realignment a little bit, and then the nuts and bolts of this campaign that you've put together with these broad and disparate forces to oppose this measure in the United States Congress.
Yeah, I think it's, really interesting. One of the things that prompted me to really pursue this as vigorously as I have, this has been a theme of mine for quite some time, but, there's an interesting political uproar taking place in Great Britain where the government, the Labour government, the left-wing Labour government, is demanding the power to detain people for 42 days, for essentially 6 weeks, rather than for 4 weeks, which is already an amazing amount of time, without even bothering to charge them with any crime. So in Britain, the government can show up at your house, arrest you, doesn't have to give you a single reason why they're arresting you, doesn't have to charge you with a crime, and can stick you in a cage for 4 weeks, and the left-wing Labour government wants to increase that to 6 weeks. And this is, the 4-week detention power was something that was enacted in the wake of the July 7th subway attack there, and the government then exploited the fear, the Labour government exploited that fear and got these powers. Now they want to ratchet it up to 6 weeks, and there's a lot of opposition to this effort that's coming from the left wing of the Labour Party, opposed to increasing detention power, government power, and to the right wing of the Tory party, the libertarian-leading faction within the right-wing Conservative Party, Margaret Thatcher's party, John Major's party. And there's a leading member of Parliament who's a member of the right-wing Tory party that has resigned his seat in protest and said that he's going to run for re-election exclusively on the grounds of opposing excesses of the surveillance state, the cameras on every corner, the ability of the government to spy on people with no oversight. And while the party establishment, both the left and right party establishment, support these government power increases, people who are opposed to the establishment on both the left and the right have banded together behind his campaign and is really causing a major public debate over there for the first time over the government sprawling surveillance powers. And, I think that alliance, that coalition, is exactly the coalition that has sort of been emerging in the United States as well, where you have, factions within the Democratic Party that have been most vocal about opposing the Bush excesses, and factions within the Libertarian element, the Republican Party and without, who have been vigorously opposing these as well, who ought to come together, and I think are now coming together, in order to oppose this sort of Democratic-Republican joint effort to destroy civil liberties and constitutional rights and the rule of law, and create this sprawling, lawless surveillance state. And, the campaign that we're doing, we're working with the people who were behind the Ron Paul money bombs and other libertarians and liberals as well, to target the people who are responsible for this FISA bill and remove them from power, with this sort of goal of a longer-term coalition to protect civil liberties from this bipartisan onslaught.
Well, and you have an entry there on your blog at salon.com. Again, it's salon.com/opinion/Greenwald, and this is sort of lamenting some of your friends on the left all of a sudden have decided that the FISA bill ain't so bad since Barack Obama's decided he's for it. And I just wanted to let you know, Glenn, it's going to be rough watching your allies in favor of the Bill of Rights defect in favor of power. It happened to me. I had allies on the right in the 1990s who turned out to be a bunch of red state fascists, or if they stayed anti-government, they became a bunch of, Jew-hating 9/11 kook goofballs. And you're going to have the same problem here on the left as your allies defect in favor of their candidate.
Well, ultimately at the end of the day, my allies are people who believe in the Constitution and core civil liberties. And, I think that remains to be seen. And, I think, there were a lot of liberal bloggers, for example, who have been extremely supportive of Obama, who became very critical of him when he announced that he was going to support this FISA bill. And even MoveOn.org, which has probably been the leading pro-Obama instrument throughout the primary, is reasonably angry at Obama for having done this and leading a campaign to demand that he lead a filibuster and the like. And at the same time, there's a large segment who have been, of the left, who have been railing against the Bush shredding of the Constitution and attacking even, Democrats, conservative Democrats like Jay Rockefeller and Steny Hoyer, for enabling the Bush administration and being complicit. And you're right, the minute that Obama came out and announced that he was going to support this bill, suddenly they found all kinds of excuses why this bill isn't so bad after all, while it might actually be a good thing. And most disturbingly, I saw a lot of this sentiment that, well, if Obama's president, we don't need to worry about abuses of power because he's a good person and doesn't intend to abuse his power. And it's that kind of blind faith and blind trust being vested in the leader that I think has, led to all the excesses and authoritarian abuses of the Bush era that you see now popping up around Obama as well. But I really think that large parts of the left have become quite cynical and skeptical, healthily so, of trusting government leaders as a result of the last 7 years. And I think and I hope that will endure no matter who the president is, and my allies are the people in whom that skepticism will endure, regardless of the political party that controls the White House.
Right, and that's how it always is as the parties switch back and forth who has the power. The people who really care about liberty, we all get shaken out, and we're becoming this new realignment.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I think that, Barack Obama has some instincts that are good instincts. I mean, he has a background in constitutional law. He seems very conversant in the underlying values of it. Seems, authentic and passionate when he talks about them at times. At the same time, he's been showing lots of attributes that are those of the conventional politician. And the hallmark of a conventional politician is that they crave political power and never believe that they can have too much of it because they believe that they're good and there's no danger in increasing their own power. And so I think those instincts are going to conflict in him, and, it remains to be seen how they play out. At the end of the day, the one theme that is common to all of the founders is that we don't trust in any one man or any group of men with unchecked power, that the assumption ought to be that they're going to abuse it, and the only real viable option is to make sure that there are real checks and limits on their power, not checks and limits by trusting in the promises that they make, but in enforcing the constitutional limitations that as a country we've all agreed to, and that's just as important no matter who the president is or what party he belongs to.
Hear, hear. All right, everybody, you can read stuff just like that at salon.com/opinion/Greenwald. The new book is Great American Hypocrites. It's obviously about the conservative movement, right? All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show and for all the work that you do on the blog there, Glenn. It's incredible stuff, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Anytime.